Hello everyone! There are a lot of strong chess tournaments played throughout the year in the world, but I think you'll agree with me that nothing says badass as the Russian Chess Championship Superfinals 2017. Even the great Grand Chess Tour pales in comparison. It's a tournament played in St. Petersburg in the State Museum of Political History of Russia, played by 12 players, 12 strong Russian grandmasters, but you can see that from the quote above the board. It was tweeted some hour and a half ago by Peter Hein Nielsen. He says that the Russian Chess Championship is played by 12 players, and in the end, Peter Svidler always wins. And it's obviously the case. I mean, this is his 8th title to be the Russian champion. He won 1 million rubles, that's like almost $17,000. He also won a car, Renault something, I don't know the exact type. And not only that, but he re-entered the world top 10 chess players by rating. So far, Alexander Grishchuk was in 10th place, and now Svidler kicked Grishchuk to 11th place, and he topped him by like 0.6 points. And yeah, I was also very... I mean, I heard of this like some time ago, that ratings also have decimal numbers. So this is one of the game from the tiebreaks. After 11 rounds, Nikita Vitiugov and Peter Svidler shared first place with 7 points, and only half a point behind them were Daniel Dubov and Vladimir Fedoseev. So they had to go into tiebreaks to decide who will take the Russian championship, and this is one of the games. Peter Svidler in this game has the white pieces, and he plays c4, the English opening. We have e5 and knight to c3. So-called the reversed Sicilian of the English. Knight to c6, knight f3, now f5, and d4. Here we have e4 by Vitiugov and d5 by Svidler. And it's a sharp position right from the opening. Knight c to e7 was played, and this isn't the best move. Much better idea would be something like e captures on f3, and after d captures on c6. It's a pretty forced variation. F captures on g2, c captures on d7, queen captures, and after bishop captures on g2, queen captures, king captures, and after c6. It's a pretty equal endgame. Well, if you can call this an endgame, it's move 10. But white has 3 pawn islands, if you can see that here, and black has 2 pawn islands. So pretty equal, but it's fine for black. But after d5, Vitiugov decided to go knight c to e7. We have knight to d4 now, d6 and f3. Knight to g6 now. Capturing on f3 doesn't really give black anything, it only helps white develop his pieces. So after f3, knight to g6 now. We have e captures, f captures on e4, f4 now. Trying to kind of cramp white's position, but Svidler doesn't allow this. He immediately plays g3, and here it could get kind of dangerous okay, there is this idea of queen to h4 if g captures on f4, but if white can somehow avoid this and create this monster center, then this will be almost winning. So f captures on g3, we have h captures on g3, and now knight to f6. Bishop to h3. Here black can capture the bishop, it's not a problem, but Vitiugov decides to go for knight g4. It's just as good, preparing to remaneuver the knight to e5. We have knight to e6 now. Now the bishop is no longer protecting the knight on g4, so bishop captures on g4 is a threat. So bishop captures on e6, d captures on e6, and we have knight 4 to e5. And bishop to f5 now, and this is now a very strong bishop. It's going to be very hard to kick it away from there. Even if you capture it with a piece, then e captures on f5 will create extremely strong passed pawns. Okay, e pawn is passed, but they will be very strong. So c6, we have bishop to e3 and queen to c7, probably preparing queenside castle. Queen to b3, and here knight to e7 is played. And here we have castles, now pressuring the d6 pawn, but also preparing a very nice idea. b6 is played, and now after bishop to f4, Nikita Vitiugov resigned the game in this position, and Peter Svidler became the 8th time, this is his 8th time that he won the Russian chess championship. What's the idea? Why did he resign? The idea is pretty straightforward. Bishop captures knight, rook to d7, and the game is over. So if you allow this, for example, if you castle, then bishop captures, pawn captures, rook captures, king captures, rook to d1 check, king to c8, and rook to d7, and it's game over. You can play something like queen to b8, but after queen to d1, there is no defense against rook to d8. So this is pretty straightforward. And there is a line which maybe Vitiugov considered, maybe he didn't. After this bishop to f4, he could have played knight captures on f5, and this is a somewhat of a more resilient defense. Now bishop captures doesn't really work in white's favor because you have knight to e3 attacking the rook, and also now the bishop is defending the d6 pawn. So after rook to d3, now you capture the bishop, and now black is actually fine. The rook will recapture, and everything is okay for black. White is better, but it's playable. But the problem is, after knight captures on f5, you don't capture the knight now. You play e captures on f5. And now you have beautiful pawns here, and after something like knight to g4, you still can't allow bishop captures on e5. Knight to e4 now, and now you're attacking the d6 pawn 3 times. Queenside castle, now the rook is again defending the pawn, and now queen to a3, and now this is overwhelming the attack on this pawn. And here it seems like a decent moment to play a move like d5. You know, if you capture my queen, I'll capture your queen. Okay, you will win the exchange, but even this doesn't work. After queen to c3, you have to move the queen, for example, queen here, and then you capture the pawn on d5. Black can't recapture because the pawn is pinned. If rook captures, again, you lose a rook. So there's really nothing to play here. After c5, queen d3, preparing to push, and this is over. So yeah, after bishop to f4 in this, it's a pretty, I mean, it's move 18, so quite a victory for Peter Svidler. Nikita Vitiugov decided to resign this game. He had something above 7 minutes on the clock. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I believe this is the first game shown by Peter Svidler on my channel, but it seems I will be showing a lot more of his game. Since I guess he's now in the top 10, he will probably get invited to a lot of very strong elite tournaments. I would like to thank Lemo Muro for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. And like I said in my previous video, if you enjoy the idea of me showing subscribers games, for example, on the weekend or one day of the week, do write something like, yeah, that's a good idea, in the comments below. So yeah, as usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.